I love, you want to know one thing that I love? It's the economical cost of materials to produce art. And I don't just mean in the physical sense, I mean also in the digital sense. It's very, very refreshing to know that 1.5 terabyte hard drives have dropped to as low as, I've seen them as $83. And although some may malign Seagate's reputation, there's a whole story around that, I have 2 of them, and so far they're working great, although I bought them for considerably more. This is billions of text pages, this is thousands of images, videos. I'm not exactly sure how many because I haven't filled mine up yet. But it all helps with iterations. I was trying Apple Backup, or Apple Time Machine rather, the really simple backup program. And what's really cool with that and some other approaches I've seen, that you can save your work, and in every hour, this is what Apple Time Machine does, it automatically back a prior copy. So if you're like, well, the one, you were working on something and you're like, the one I did 5 hours ago was a lot better than what I have now, but I saved over it, you can just go back in time and retrieve that. Control over time and space is incredibly essential to being creative. If you're not aware of your time or your space or dimensions, both your physical and your mental and other sorts of constraints, then you're not going to make anything worth making. So with these sorts of options, there is the flexibility to leap back. Wiki form editors are also a very fine example of this, because you have the chronological page edit. WordPress has added this also to talk of other specific tools. So what I'm really fond of sometimes is unearthing those kind of rare gems, or as I like to call it, remixing your past there. It's really, really enriching to have an artist's history, your history, unfolded before you. But there's bound to be the human vulnerability of, that was my early stuff, it's not so good. Maybe not, but when you look at all those best-selling hit compilations and anthologies of artists who are now legendary, I'm referring to musicians like Bob Dylan in the early days, or the Beatles anthology. Look how many fans prize those early days, despite that not being their most refined material. Why is that? Well, one of the reasons, often stated, is the energy. When you're new, when you're naive, when you don't know, when you're not so aware of the rules, you make things that aren't so self-conscious. Later on in life, as you're a more established artist, it's more difficult to know where the outside of the lines are, because you've painted within them so many times, or you created your own rules, your own sound, or your sight for yourself. It becomes difficult to depart yourself outside of that and look at it from the perspective of someone who's starting like you but new. This is also something which, with great fever, I noticed when I'm looking at some of the works that I've made before. I often think to myself, oh, it had this naivety at the time, which I don't have now, but there are still some things from there which I'd love to integrate with my current work. Like the style I've programmed the beats. I didn't know how to do a proper drum and bass beat back in 1998 or so I just did them on drum sounds which weren't part of the standard lexicon. And of course I get laughed at it, because it's something very different, but something that only I did. And that's something to remember. Past any words, past any derision and scorn you may experience, to really look at what you were doing at the time. One fantastic example, well, I won't necessarily say fantastic, but it was very intriguing how Ronnie Size, the drum bass jungle legend in my book anyway, how he referred to the New Forms reissue as having a new coat of armor, taking that earlier work he did. And I'm not so fond of his later original tracks, but they weren't quite fully remixed. They had some additional drum loops, some toughening up of the mastering and compression, but overall I thought it was great. Not fantastic, it didn't blow me away like that, but it was substantial. So when we look at these things, when you look at your history, there's usually the early phases, and you're going to go through periods. This is how it is. Your time in your life, things are going to affect you as a human being. But whatever you do as an artist, make sure you have control of your time and your space.